back from the holiday weekend here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Hope everyone is having a great day. Hope everyone's staying safe, hydrated. It is hot as anything out there. I mean, holy Toledo, what a weekend. I mean, it was so hot on Saturday that being out running errands throughout the day on Saturday discouraged me from wanting to go out this weekend. Like, I completely lost interest from going out this weekend because of the weather. So, what an absolutely insane, wild weekend. Again, hope everyone was safe this weekend. We got a lot to get to in the Power Hour known as Game Night here on 97.3. You guys can join the conversation about the Phillies and Sixers at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. You know, we're going to react to the Paul George stuff in just a bit. And we're getting to the Phillies weekend. And I think that there was a big item, though, this weekend that kind of got overlooked, kind of got buried because, frankly, everybody was in vacation mode this weekend. But I genuinely believe that for someone like myself who went into this weekend really having not a lot of good vibe about the Sixers, kind of like complacent vibes, I've turned the corner. I've turned the corner because for me, I think the 76ers have finally started building a basketball team. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like everything Daryl Morey has done has been great and good, but you look at the resume, okay? You look at what he has already done. And I understand that there are people out there who still are anti-Daryl Morey. But I think there are some interesting takeaways from all of this. Number one, you came into an offseason with pretty much as much salary cap space as humanly possible for a team that already had two superstars in hand. And you went out there and got the biggest fish in the sea. And whether you're a fan of Paul George or not, that's a different conversation. But if we're being objective, Daryl Morey got the biggest, most available player out there. Because at the end of the day, if you were going to go the older player route, whether it was Paul George, Jimmy Butler, Paul George with a free agent, Jimmy Butler, whether he was available for trade or not, we have no idea. We have no idea who was or wasn't available. But what we do know is Paul George was a free agent. And Paul George, after the Clippers, basically, as he explained it, had no interest in bringing him back on a deal that he thought was respectable. He started looking elsewhere. And we'll get to what Paul George had to say on the Podcast P with Paul George podcast in just a bit here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. But you went out and got the biggest available player, all right? And like I said, I was not a big Paul George guy. That was not the guy I personally wanted them to target, but I understood why they targeted him, why he is the guy here now. I get it. Then Daryl Morey made some other interesting moves that definitely stood out. Bringing back Andre Drummond was a huge move because the Sixers were minus 45 when Joel Embiid was off the floor. Unacceptable, just a horrible level of production by the backup center position over the last year. They bring in Eric Gordon, a guy who has a history of hitting big shots in the postseason. So even though he's a veteran player, you're bringing in a guy who is literally and legitimately someone who, let's be honest, has a longer history of playoff success than almost anyone who could have been available. You re-sign Maxey, that was expected. You draft Jared McCain, who is kind of like Tyrese Maxey light at this point, bringing him in here. But then you made the move that might have been the most important of all of them. Caleb Martin being signed by the Sixers this weekend was the most pleasant surprise I have had for a while. Caleb Martin is finally Philadelphia's answer for the Celtics and the Knicks. Because teams are going to hyper-focus on Embiid and Paul George and Maxey. So the players around those three have to be competent, experienced players. And what was the biggest problem for Philadelphia last season? If Embiid and Maxey didn't show up, 9 times out of 10, the rest of the team didn't show up either. Caleb Martin is a guy who actually averages more points per game in the postseason than the regular season. And for an Eastern Conference whose reigning defending champions of the NBA are the Boston Celtics, who, what do they have? A plethora of wings. For a New York Knicks team that has upgraded, and what do they have? A plethora of wings. When the Milwaukee Bucks are healthy, what do they have? A plethora of wings. What do teams like the Cavs have when they are locked and loaded? A plethora of wings. So what did you bring to Philadelphia and Caleb Martin? A player who can play with other teams' wings. Caleb Martin is not going to be the best player on this team, but he might be the most important role player for this team. And you guys know, I am not a big analytics guy, okay? I am not someone who lives and dies by the analytics. But I am somebody who pays attention. I'm someone who notices certain trends. As I said, almost every one of Caleb Martin's stats are better in the postseason than the regular season. The analytics, the per game numbers, everything. And I started to wonder, why is that? Well, you go back and watch Caleb Martin, you realize that he plays defense. You go back and realize Caleb Martin does all the dirty work. And for a guy who is not even 30 years old yet, to be willing to play that role, he turns 29 years old before the start of this upcoming season. He is already basically a veteran. And he played in Miami the last few years. And outside of this past year, we know what Miami has done in the postseason. They've been to an NBA Finals. They've been to multiple conference finals. Caleb Martin was part of that. So now you're putting a team together that has a chance to win. And this is where, for someone like me, who came into this offseason way more interested in the Flyers next year than the Sixers, I have been brought back around because a guy like Caleb Martin makes a difference. And I don't think Philadelphia is done putting it together. But as Paul George said on his podcast, the Sixers finally look like they have a winning formula, at least from his perspective.
Nick Nurse is as good as he gets as coaching. He's won at many different levels. I already talked about how good Joel is and Tyrese is, and now you mix in myself, Oubre. I think we have a hell of a starting five, and then we got veteran guys coming off the bench. So we already have a recipe to be a really good team.
They have a recipe for a really good team. And they're not done building this team out because, as we know, they had almost nobody left from last year. There were 2 guys under contract. So they still have a handful of positions they still have to fill out. And they released Paul Reed to fit Caleb Martin in. So they're going to add a couple more players, whether there's somebody on the Summer League team, whoever it may be. They're going to add some guys. And, of course, the quote-unquote Summer League begins tonight in Salt Lake City, this weekend in Las Vegas. And there's some players on that Summer League team that I know someone like Mike Gill is going to keep an eye on. Mike Gill, the Sports Bash, 2 to 6 p.m. here on 97.3 ESPN. Guys who played last year, like Jeff Doughton, Ricky Council, these are guys who we saw them be contributors last year. Can they continue to be contributors for the team next year? Could we see a player on this Summer League team carve out a role for himself heading in the next season? It happens sometimes. There are some interesting names on this Summer League team the Sixers will keep an eye on. Justin Edwards from Kentucky, Romeo Langford from Kansas. These are guys to keep an eye on. And, of course, they can still add more guys in free agency. We don't know if there's a trade out there. Could potentially be made. We know that they made the deal with Golden State for Buddy Hield, but is there another trade that could be had? There's a lot of talk about Brandon Ingram being traded. Maybe not to Philadelphia, but could the Sixers get involved in that trade, kind of like the Spurs did over the weekend, and absorb somebody's contract? For those of you who don't know, DeMar DeRozan is a king because of a 3-way deal where Harrison Barnes had to go to San Antonio so DeMar DeRozan could go from Chicago to Sacramento. Could Philadelphia be that team for whoever lands Brandon Ingram to say, hey, we got a little veteran exception, trade exception, whatever. We'll absorb somebody's extra contract. We'll absorb a little extra here or there to help somebody out in a handshake kind of agreement, gentleman's agreement to maybe come back at a later date and help us out when we need something from you. Could certainly happen. And I'm fascinated to see how it happens because one of the big questions that people had about Paul George coming into all this was, why did this guy come to Philadelphia? He's a California guy. His family is from the LA area. So what was it, Paul George? Podcast B with Paul George podcast. He said this.
I think it was just the idea of playing with such a presence in Joel and then just a fresh start, new opportunity. I was pretty open on the conversation and the decision. I think, stuff was kind of at a stale with Clippers, which opened me into looking at other teams, hearing other programs out. And ultimately, it was more so just the idea of, one of the best point guards, young point guards in the league, and one of the best, if not the best, big in the league in Joel.
He went on to say this about Joel Embiid, which I thought was very interesting because, first of all, you heard him say one of the best young point guards in the league, a presence he's ever played with like Joel Embiid. Remember, when he was in Indiana, their big man was Roy Hibbert. Joel Embiid is leaps and bounds better than Roy Hibbert, right? His running mates in Indiana were guys like Lance Stevenson and George Hill. Again, nothing on the level as Embiid and Maxey. And Paul George went on to say this.
I've never played with someone so big and dominant like that. He's, the best or one of the best centers in the league, bro. Like, that's a beast. Baby Shaq, again, it's a dream come true. Like, having a star point guard and a star big. That's a crazy dynamic.
It's a crazy dynamic because Paul George sounds like a guy who's willing to play within the dynamic. Remember, James Harden said, "I am the system." Paul George ain't saying he's the system. He's saying, "I'm coming to join forces with you all. I'm coming to Philadelphia to team up with Embiid and Maxey." He's not coming in to take over. And I think that is a huge deal with all of this. It's a huge deal when you are the guy who says, "I don't need to be the head dog. I'm willing to fit in with everybody else." And no matter what analogy you want to use, everyone likes to use the Batman and Robin analogy, no matter how tired and old that is. Paul George isn't worried about being Batman. He's not worried if he's Robin. He just wants to be a part of the Bat family, if we're going to extend that analogy. Because for those who don't know, Batman has had multiple Robins over the years. And his most famous Robin, Dick Grayson, grew up, become his own superhero called Nightwing. So now in the comics, we have the Bat family, right? Paul George is saying, "I want to be a part of the group. I want to be a part of the team. I don't want to be the apex guy. I don't need to be the number one guy. I just want to get paid what I think I'm worth and be part of winning a championship." And that's a refreshing perspective to hear. And in some ways, it does remind me, not literally, but a little bit of when Jimmy Butler sat down with Chris Haynes years ago, when Jimmy came to Philadelphia, when Jimmy was candid about playing with Joel Embiid and winning a championship. And the Sixers sent that guy away. Now, with a new front office, a new head coach, a new operating staff running this team compared to who was running it, and the man and people in charge back when Jimmy Butler was let go. Now, right here and now, Paul George sounds like a guy who wants to come here and win. Something to think about as we head through this offseason. We'll play more of what Paul George had to say coming up the other side. Also, texts from George in Summers Point and Jeff in Ocean City at 609-403-0973. Your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City. I'm Josh Hennig, and this is Game Night on 97.3 ESPN.
Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman.
These three guys are healthy in the playoffs. They have as high a ceiling as any team in the league besides Boston. I think they're the second best team in the East. It's going to be a question of whether they're healthy, what they can put around them. But the Sixers for a year have been preparing to sign a big player. They got the single best player available in Paul George, and he's a perfect fit with their team.
Wake up weekday mornings with Unsportsmanlike with Evan Cohen, Chris Canty, and Michelle Smallman on 97.3 ESPN.
More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars, because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 52886 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now.
Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
This message furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters.
There he is. It's Agent 00 Chicken. Every move he makes, every chance he takes is to get to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. And nothing will stop him from getting there. Because he knows that right now, he can get a 3-piece world-famous chicken box, white or dark meat, or chicken tenders for just $8, with a portion of each chicken box sale donated to a local charity. Plus, he can register to win world-famous chicken for a year. That's 3 pieces of hot, juicy, moist, and tender Royal Farms world-famous chicken for just $8. Come to Royal Farms Chicken Palooza. It's a real thriller, but it's only for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms. No purchase necessary to enter or win. And September 2nd, 2024. Chicken for a year prize to be awarded as 8 $100 Royal Farms gift cards. For details and official rules, visit royalfarms.com/chicken-palooza. Void where prohibited. Sponsored by Royal Farms.
Life hack number 7. Get an iPhone 12 on Straight Talk.
Life hack.
Here's how it works. You walk into Walmart, go to the electronics section, ask for iPhone 12 with 5G and a dual camera system, and select the new Silver Unlimited plan. They'll smile because it's first year. Get it at Walmart or StraightTalk.com. Straight Talk. Less dollars, more sense. Taxes and fees apply. Requires activation of iPhone 12 with a new Silver Unlimited plan or higher end auto pay enrollment. $25 a month. Service credit applied for 12 months if eligibility requirements are met. For network management, StraightTalk.com.
Have you ever lifted a piece of furniture only to discover the carpet underneath looks brand new while the rest of it looks, well, not brand new? That's when you realize you need new carpet. At the Home Depot, we have a wide selection of all the top brands. Best of all, installation is included. So all you need to do is choose something that matches your style. Start your carpet project today at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Installation included with qualifying purchases. Exclusions apply. For licenses, see homedepot.com/license numbers.
I can't believe Texas is here already. Look at all this info I have to enter.
Phil's small accounting firm is growing in numbers.
Why didn't I take that typing class in high school?
A data entry specialist could really help him in a crunch.
I got blisters on my fingers.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. You can schedule and conduct virtual interviews all from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Oh, yes.
Powered by the all-new Bet Parks New Jersey Casino and Sportsbook app. BetParks.com. This is the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network.
Could the 76ers be bringing back their throwbacks? I'm Nick Earnshaw, your South Jersey sports fan, with your 97.3 ESPN question of the day. After getting his big contract extension, the Sixers put out a video of Tyrese Maxey and what he's meant to the organization with a Maxey Museum. There was also a tease in the video of a possible comeback of their black jerseys from the Iverson era. So our 97.3 ESPN question of the day is, do you want the Sixers to bring back the black uniform? Let us know by texting 609-403-0973 or use the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. In my opinion, yeah, bring them back. I am all for bringing the throwback jerseys and uniforms back. The Eagles have done it. The Phillies have done it. Why not the Sixers? It was a great era. Bring them back. I love throwbacks. Who doesn't love nostalgia? Once again, text us at 609-403-0973. Your forecast is next.
This radio commercial was made to convince you to stop speeding. We can't use siren sound effects on the radio, so we'll use other equally jarring sound effects to get your attention. Like telling you that whether you drive a little over the speed limit or a lot, you can crash just the same. You could hurt yourself or worse, others.
I'm at the scene of the collision.
And the damage you cause will be beyond repair. See, we didn't have to use crash or siren sounds after all. Speeding catches up with you. Brought to you by NHTSA.
From the Town Square, New Jersey Info and Weather Network, I'm Chief Meteorologist Dan Zarrow. The heat wave is forecast to finally break on Thursday, primarily because of clouds and rain moving in. Very humid conditions are here to stay, though. Partly cloudy and sticky tonight. Low temperature around 75 degrees. Still hot tomorrow, high in 90, mostly cloudy. A few thunderstorms possible on Wednesday. It'll be partly sunny and breezy, high 88, 86 with scattered rain Thursday. Get weather 24/7 wherever you are. Download our free mobile app today.
From playtime to showtime, Atlantic City always serves classic summer fun with a twist of cool. Visit AtlanticCityNJ.com to win an overnight getaway. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app.
Don't forget Game Night being brought to you by Boxing Insider Promotions. The boxing event of the summer is at Tropicana Atlantic City Showroom Friday, July 26th, where Boxing Insider Promotions is back with another great fight card as undefeated junior middleweight Justin Figueroa of Atlantic City returns to action, as well as top-rated heavyweight Otto Wallen and Absegami High School's Bruce Selden Jr. are all in action, but you must be there Friday, July 26th at Tropicana Atlantic City with tickets on sale at Ticketmaster.com. Friday, July 26th. And of course, 97.3 ESPN will be there as well. So you can come out and watch the fights with 97.3 ESPN at Tropicana in Atlantic City on Friday, July 26th. Tickets on sale right now at Ticketmaster.com. All right, back to the text board. 609-403-0973 as promised. George from Summers Point chimes in and says, I think that Daryl Morey's trades over the last 3 years should nominate him for NBA Executive of the Decade. George from Summers Point goes on to say, the man dumped Ben Simmons. They had to turn around and dump James Harden, and now has remade this team as best as anyone could have done in the current marketplace. That's from George in Summers Point. Well, first of all, I don't know if it's Executive of the Decade, but it's a valid point that Daryl Morey has probably done more than most executives could handle doing. And I think the problem is for all the people who complain about Morey, they do the same problem that I hate when fans do about coaches, right? It's so-and-so stinks, fire him. And then I always say, and replace him with who? And they never have a good answer because all they can think about is the short-sighted mentality of, I don't like this guy, get somebody else, which is a dumb way of going through life. You know, we don't do that with our cars. We don't do that in our dating relationships. We don't do that with our financial investments. We don't do that with our homes. We don't do that with anything else except for sports, where we walk into serious decisions with the most short-sighted perspective on earth. There's almost never a time where you go to a dealership with your car and you say, I hate my car. I want to get rid of it. And the dealer, the salesman says, what do you want to replace it with? You always have something in your mind what you want to replace it with. You don't go in there and say, at all costs, get rid of this car. I don't care what I replace it with. Anything could be better. We never do that. We never do that with our homes. There's never a point where you're like, this house is so bad, I don't care where else I live. Anywhere is better than here. No, we have an idea of where we want to live, what kind of neighborhood we want to live in, the environment, etc. And the same thing with relationships. Now, I can't speak for some of the idiots out there on like these dating TV shows, right, who make some irrational decisions. But I mean, in the real world where the rest of us live, no one sits around and be like, this person I'm dating is so bad, I will date anything but them. No, it's only in sports. So I don't know if Morey's Executive of the Decade, but I do think Daryl Morey deserves more credit than he's been given at times. So I agree with you on that, George, to Summers' point. And I do think that he deserves credit for remaking this team because I don't know what executive would have done a better job. That's the problem with this conversation. It's not like the NBA is full of great executives. It's not like the league has, like, for example, in football, you can name almost every executive in the NFL for good or bad reasons. You can't do that in the NBA. Most people have no idea who the executives are in New Orleans or Atlanta. Maybe you do in San Antonio, but not the current one in Houston. You probably don't know who is in Dallas. You probably don't know who's in Minnesota. You might know who's in Oklahoma City. You might know who's in Denver. You probably don't know who's in Golden State anymore because Bob Myers ain't there. He's on television. You only know who's in the Lakers because the Lakers always get talked about on television. And you might know who the Clippers is because you've been following this Paul George stuff. So for the people who complain about Morey, they couldn't even name someone to replace him. And it's not like the league is full of guys who are doing a great job. If there was a guy doing a great job, that team isn't letting him go usually. So it's not like there's someone out there who's so much better than Daryl Morey. It's not like there's somebody who had done a better job necessarily than him at getting rid of Ben Simmons, flipping James Harden, getting salary cap space, unloading Al Horford's contract a couple years ago, and now rebuilding on the fly like he has. Now, if you want to criticize Daryl Morey and say that he has continued the Sixers' unusual team building strategy of constantly changing the parts around Embiid, you can criticize him for that. You could criticize Daryl Morey for theoretically not trading for Tyrese Halliburton when he could have had a chance, although we have no idea whether that story was true or not. It's never been fully verified. If you want to blame Daryl Morey for a multitude of different questions, like trading for Buddy Hield this offseason, like I did, I criticized him for the trade deadline. He admitted he was wrong about that. You could do that. But let's not act like he's the worst guy in the world when he's actually doing a better job than even I expected. Jeff from Ocean City chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, I will be following the Sixers, and I pray they get out of the second round. But I'm not all in. And as the Who said, I won't be fooled again. That's from Jeff in Ocean City. Well, Jeff, first of all, I understand where you're coming from. Yes, nobody wants to be fooled again. You know, what's the saying? Fool me once, fool me twice, right? It's the idea that you've seen scenarios that got your hopes up, and you don't want to go through that again. And I totally get that. So keep praying. You don't have to be all in, but you can still follow and ride the wave of the season until you get to the postseason and you see if they get out of the second round or not. But I think as of right now, I would only say the Sixers are one of 4 teams that can get out of the second round right now. Now, where Brandon Ingram goes could change part of that conversation, right? But at least for me, I look at a team that, as of right now, is not at the hard cap yet. Okay. They are one of only, I think it's 12 NBA teams that are not hard capped yet. I have to double check the exact numbers from guys like Keith Smith and Bobby Marks, but I believe there are 16 teams that are currently at the hard cap, and the rest of the league is either close to it or getting within inches of it. The Sixers are not there yet. So if the Sixers are not there yet, they have room to make some more moves. And they have room to make some more moves, then what we see right now is not the end of the story. But what I do find interesting is how Paul George walked into joining the Sixers. And I thought what he was candid about what happened with him leaving the Clippers, because he was very clear on the podcast. His goal was never to leave Los Angeles. His plan was never to leave the Clippers. In fact, he talks about on the podcast how there was a point where him and Kawhi would have gone to Toronto together. The Kawhi could have stayed in Toronto and Paul George would have joined him, but the Raptors didn't make a fair offer. And that's when they decided to both go to the Clippers. Paul George also said he would have considered Golden State if they were interested in him. But ultimately, his goal was to stay with the Clippers until this happened.
I never wanted to leave LA. LA is home. This is where I wanted to finish at. I wanted to work as hard as possible to win one in LA. Like, that was the goal, to be here and be committed to LA. As it played out, though, like, the first initial deal was, I thought, kind of disrespectful. 2 years, 60. So I'm like, wow, no, I'm not signing that.
So the Clippers tried to lowball him. They tried to come in there and say, well, you know, this is our initial offer. And that was the first moment where he was like, I don't know, man. Like, I'm not taking that. To which then the Clippers and him continued to have conversations, because before we get to the next bite, you know, cut 2 lined up here. But think about that. If you're someone in Paul George's position where you know you can hit free agency, where you know you can go on the market and see if another team will pay you, and the team that you want to stay with, the team that you would think would want to keep you, lowballs you about $20 million less than what other players in your position are getting, wouldn't you feel disrespected too? More from Paul George on the Podcast P with Paul George and Friends podcast.
Then I hear wind of, like, you know, what they're going to give Kawhi. So So I'm like, just give me what Kawhi got.
Right.
Y'all view us the same. You know, we came here together. We want to finish together. I was cool with that. Like,
Wow.
we were taking less. Kawhi took less. I was like, if Kawhi gonna take less, I'm not gonna say I want more than Kawhi. Like, it's not about me being paid more than him. Like, I'm gonna take what he got. Y'all give him that, give me that. They didn't want to do that.
So first of all, they lowball him. Second of all, they won't even give him a deal that's equal to Kawhi Leonard. So he feels disrespected. He feels like he's being a little misled because he says, hey, you guys brought us in here with the idea that we're equals, and now you're not willing to compensate me like I'm an equal, and Kawhi's taking less money than the max. So again, we're not talking about a guy who's looking to just get a payday. There were multiple reports out there that Paul George wanted 4 years. That the fourth year was very important to him for his family and stability and all of that. Well, if you're giving Kawhi Leonard stability and he's taking less than the max, but you won't give the same to Paul George, and he feels like, first time, I feel insulted. Second time, I'm confused. Then he talks about how when the Clippers and him finally got to a number they could agree on in terms of total dollars, the Clippers still wouldn't give him what he wanted.
Now they bring it to 3 years, 150. So basically around what they gave Kawhi. A part of me was still like, it sucks that it had to get to this point, like that we couldn't get this figured out a lot sooner. But now we at the end of the year, 3 years, 150. So I'm like, all right, we're in the ballpark. You know what I mean? Now we can have conversation here. I presented the 150, no trade. Because in the meeting, they're like, we want you here long term. When you're retired, we want you to be a Clippers for a lifetime, like all of this stuff. So I'm like, cool. Give me the 3 years, 150, no trade clause. Then I'm taking less, but at least I know I'm here. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm committed to y'all. Like, they didn't want to do the no trade.
Do that.
Wow.
So that gives you an idea of what happened, at least from Paul George's perspective. So first, he felt disrespected. Second of all, he didn't understand what was going on. Third of all, he feels like they're telling him one thing, but their actions are saying something else. So that's the reason why he finally left LA. That's the reason why he finally said, I'm out. And it probably is part of the reason why he picked the Sixers, because when the Clippers opened that door for someone else to walk in that room, someone else wooed him. And I don't mean Ric Flair kind of woo. I mean wooed him almost like bringing him to the dark side kind of woo. Because they allowed him to walk out the door. The Clippers had a guy who wanted to be there. They were in a relationship with somebody who valued being with you. And they didn't value him in return. So Paul George went and found somebody else who values him.
It was a great meeting, and talk about organization. Not to say that the Clippers didn't and the Clippers don't, but just an organization that just was like, man, you're our guy. We believe in you. We want you here. There's no perfect pairing with you, Joel, Tyrese together. You know, and it was just, my family felt it, I felt it. It just felt like, all right, this is where I'm gonna spend the next chapter of my life. And so it felt good, man. Like I said, Dr. J was in the crib. I know that was big for my dad.
Look, he felt wanted. He felt like he could go somewhere where it made sense for him. It's pretty clear that the Sixers were more interested in Paul George than the Clippers were in Paul George. And even though Paul George wanted the Clippers first, Paul George said, you know what? I'm going to go somewhere where I am wanted. I'm going to go somewhere who wants me the way I want to be wanted. To go back to the relationship concept, Paul George said, I'm looking for love, and I'm only going to commit myself to someone who loves me the way I feel I deserve to be loved. Now, of course, he's getting paid a good amount of money. All these players are getting paid a lot of money. But the reality is that we do live in a world where Tobias Harris is getting paid more than DeMar DeRozan. And we live in a world where Tobias Harris is getting paid than almost everyone on the Sixers roster not named Embiid, Maxey, or Paul George. All these guys make a ton of money. All these guys get compensated very well. OG Anunoby getting paid more than Paul George. So, as you heard George say, it was not just about the money. It was about the 4 years. It was about being accepted, about being where he wanted to be. And he tells the story how Dr. J sealed the deal. Yes, Julius Erving was with the contingent of the Sixers to sell Paul George. And first of all, my first question is, if Dr. J is this good at selling players and coming to Philadelphia, he needs to be a part of every free agent meeting for as long as he can do it, because he's getting a little old. I know he doesn't want to, I don't think Julius Erving wants to travel as much as he used to, right? He's getting a little older. Traveling when you're that tall and that much older, maybe not the most ideal situation, but still, the Sixers, he might be the key to all free agents moving forward if he's going to execute it like this. This is from Podcast P with Paul George and Friends podcast.
So he brought up how he joined the team. They ended up getting to the championship, lost one. Got to the championship again, lost. Then he was like, we just can't get over the hump. Then they go ahead and trade for Moses Malone, and they win it. And he was like, that was the missing piece. He was like, P.
I'm sold. You the missing piece.
You the missing piece.
Wow.
So I was like, man, where I sign that, man? Where I sign?
He told Paul George he was the missing piece. I mean, I didn't know that Dr. J was that good of a salesman. I knew he was smooth, as Stuart Scott would say, smooth as the other side of the pillow, as a human being and a good person. We were all aware of that. If anyone's ever met Dr. J, you know the quality of human he is. But I didn't know he was good at that kind of sales pitch. I didn't know he was that good. Get a guy like Paul George be like, where do I sign at? Where's the paper? Looking around like, I got to sign something now. And to drive this all home, before we hit the break, Paul George, who has never lived in the Philadelphia area, has never played for an East Coast team. Remember, he was in Indiana, Midwest. He was in Oklahoma City, Midwest. He's been playing for the Clippers the last few years, West Coast. So the perception might be for someone like him, oh, those Philly fans, I don't know if I want to deal with those fans. And he says, hold on a minute. Philly fans aren't going to scare me away. He explains why here.
Putting a stamp on how passionate the fans are there.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they can be rowdy. They can, I've heard the stories of, them getting on their players or whatever like that. But, that's good pressure. That's pressure that you want. Indy was kind of like that. But it lit a fire under you to play better and be better. So, that was, I guess people would be scared of that. But, it was kind of reassuring that, like, they care.
Mm-hmm.
They want to win, and I want to win.
He calls the attitude of fans like Sixer fans reassuring because they care. Kind of makes you wonder, Paul George, do you look at the rest of the NBA and wonder if those fans care? Atlanta Hawk fans, New Orleans Pelican fans, Orlando Magic fans, if there are any that exist, Brooklyn Nets fans, maybe even Oklahoma City fans. It just makes you wonder. Paul George is putting it out there into the universe. He says it's reassuring that Sixer fans are that passionate because it shows you they care. Just makes you wonder. Maybe Philadelphia has something going on right now. Now, again, it's July 8th, 2024. We have a different conversation this time next year. But right here, right now, we got thumbs up right now for the Sixers offseason. And again, they had still more moves to make. Josh Hennick here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We'll get back to your text board messages coming up on the other side. 609-403-0973 in your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Are you already doing digital advertising sales? Do you know all about targeted displays, social media marketing, the latest in SEM, and behavioral targeting? If so, you could be Town Square Media's new advertising sales star. We are looking for passionate sales professionals to join our media and digital advertising team. If consulting and connecting local businesses with their ideal audience for growth sounds exciting, well, let's have a conversation about you working for Town Square Media. Right now is the perfect time to join our team as an advertising account executive. Our comp package is amazing with unlimited earning potential, including base salary, mobile phone, auto package, 401k match, and more, along with world-class training and plenty of room for growth. If you're competitive, driven, and have the ability to communicate great ideas, we want to hear from you. Reach out to Michael Rubel, Market President, at 609-910-5249, or visit careers.townsquaremedia.com. Town Square Media is an equal opportunity employer.
Did you know that feeling sluggish or weighed down could be a sign that your digestive system isn't working at its best? Taking Metamucil every day can help. Metamucil fiber powders help promote your daily digestive health using a plant-based fiber called psyllium. The gelling action of this special fiber traps and removes waste, so you can feel lighter and more energetic. Metamucil, promoting digestive health for a better you. Learn more at metamucil.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance engineer, he hears things differently. To the untrained ear, everything on his shop floor might sound fine, but he can hear gears grinding or a belt slipping. So he steps in to fix the problem at hand before it gets out of hand. And he knows Grainger's got the right product he needs to get the job done, which is music to his ears. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's common knowledge that after age 30, our metabolism changes. We have less energy and gain weight easier. There's a way to feel better, not in years or months, but sometimes in just days.
I'm Chuck Norris. I tried everything. Working with a team of health experts, we came up with Morning Kick. Morning Kick is a revolutionary new formula that combines all my favorite supplements into one daily drink.
Morning Kick has probiotics to help you lose weight, prebiotics for digestion, superfoods for muscles and joints, and powerful anti-aging supplements. It'll help you feel youthful, energized, and helps manage stress.
I look and feel better than I have in years.
Go to roundhouseprovisions.com, use code SUPPORT, or text SUPPORT to 511-511 and claim 40% off. Roundhouseprovisions.com, code SUPPORT.
Every purchase comes with our 90-day money-back guarantee. You could be feeling these changes within just a couple of days.
Text SUPPORT to 511-511.
These statements have not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Tax fees may apply.
Take $7,500 off MSRP or pay 0% for 60 months and make no payments until after Labor Day during the Kia Summer Sticker Sales Event.
It's gotta be a Matte Black Kia.
You heard right. Take $7,500 off MSRP on every clearly marked EV in stock. Have a job clearing $450 per week? Matte Black Kia wants to approve you today with 0 down and 0 payments until after Labor Day on every new Matte Black Kia in stock. Plus, with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy, you can drive with peace of mind. So if you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, we want to get you released.
It's gotta be a Matte Black Kia.
With approved credit, 24 Nero EV and EV6, $1,667 per thousand. Not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payments. Offers can't be combined. Go to MattBlackKiaNJ.com for complete details or 888-505-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. $7,500 off from $7,500 customer cash. EV6 rebates and incentives to dealer. Matte Black Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township, and on Route 37 in Toms River.
There are a lot of so-called fast food deals out there. But do any of them have the Wendy's Junior Bacon Cheeseburger, crispy fries, everyone's favorite nugs, and a drink for just $5 like Wendy's Biggie Bag? Nope. And that's why no other deals can be called the Wendy's Biggie Bag. That and a little thing called plagiarism.
When the deal is as fresh as the meal, gotta be Wendy's.
Gotta be fresh.
Includes choice of JBC or crispy chicken sandwich with 4-piece nugs, junior fry, and small soft drink. U.S. price and participation may vary. Prices may be higher in Alaska, Hawaii, and California and via third-party delivery.
Hi, I'm Cesar Milan. People are always commenting on how happy and healthy my dogs are. One of the reasons is the food my dogs eat.
Dr. Marty's Nature's Blend is a premium freeze-dried raw dog food designed to support your dog's health, happiness, and lifespan.
Their joints are more flexible, their teeth are cleaner, and their coats shinier. And why they seem more youthful even as they age.
I'm veterinarian Dr. Marty Goldstein. I've helped countless dogs thrive with one simple concept. Your dog needs a high-meat diet similar to what their ancestors ate in the wild.
Dr. Marty created Nature's Blend using 50 years of nutritional research and experience, helping dogs make incredible turnarounds. Save up to 54% off Nature's Blend and get a free bag of Cod Krispies. They're wild-caught, ultra-crunchy cod skin treats. Go to drmartypets.com/deal or text DEAL to 511-511.
Your order is backed with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
4th of July appliance savings are happening now at the Home Depot, so upgrade with innovative appliance brands like GE Profile. Modernize your kitchen with the new GE Profile 4-door French door refrigerator with hands-free auto-fill dispenser. And with the GE Profile ultra-fast combo washer-dryer, you can tackle large loads in about 2 hours. Save up to $2,400 on select kitchen packages with 4th of July savings at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing about June 19th through July 10th, U.S. only. See store online for details.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at PJ Bucket Seafood in Ventnor and Ocean City for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennick on 97.3 ESPN and on the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, powered by First Bank of Sea Isle City.
All right, before we wrap up the hour here on Game Night, I did want to hit on the Phillies over the weekend because they did lose 2 out of 3 to the Atlanta Braves. And I had 2 big takeaways from the weekend, which is, number one, it's obvious to me that Ranger Suarez is running out of steam. The guy has allowed 20 earned runs in his first 16 starts of the year, but over the last 2 starts has allowed a total of 11 runs. The most innings he has ever pitched was 2022 when he had 155. He had 134 last year between the minors and the majors. He has 108 this year. I'm just wondering what the state of his body is and his mind is. I'm not saying he's cooked. I'm not saying he's done. I'm not saying he can't pitch the rest of the year. But, he may benefit from some time off. And I know he just made the All-Star game, and I know it's so cool the Phillies have 7 guys in the All-Star game. But, man, it would be kind of nice, just saying, if you didn't have to worry about this guy for the rest of the year, if he's going to be able to make it to 200 innings without falling apart or breaking down or needing an injured list stint, right? Again, I'm not saying he's cooked. I'm not saying he's done, but I'm just saying that you were doing really good for 16 starts, and the last 2 starts, no bueno. At some point, he might just need a couple extra days off beyond the All-Star break. The other question I have is, when the Phillies acquire a bat, is it going to be someone who makes sense? There's a lot of speculation they're going to trade for an outfielder. And whether it's Hooker from the A's, whether it's Cody Bellinger from the Cubs, whether it's Luis Robert Jr. from the White Sox, whoever it may be, I just hope it's a guy that fits this team. And the Phillies don't worry so much about who prospects are trading. They pass up on the right opportunity. Dave Dombrowski has said previously, he doesn't want to mess up the chemistry of this team. And I think part of not messing up the chemistry of the team is not just who you trade away, but who you bring in. It's a delicate balancing act. I hope they don't mess this up. I think at the end of the day, Look, Marsh might not be your starting center fielder, but he is a starter for this team, and he's a valuable part of that clubhouse. A clubhouse for this team who would make or break them in the postseason. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll catch you tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN.
You have the choice. Whether it's going out to dinner or ordering takeout at a local restaurant or buying that new outfit from a local boutique, those choices help to put money back into your community. Town Square Media South Jersey proudly puts a spotlight on local businesses.
Broadlee's, your trusted source for heating and plumbing service and installation for generations. Call 609-390-3907 or visit broadlees.net. Manhattan Bagel. Looking for a quick snack or a full meal? Easy to use menu, customize how you like, place your order and sit back. ManhattanBagel.com has you covered. Start fresh, fast, order online for pickup and delivery. Clean Lines Painting. For a quality job, remember the name, CleanLinesPaint.com. And Kindle Auto Plaza, the area's best selection of Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Wagon. 609-465-5000 or KindleAutoplaza.com.
Thank you for supporting your local businesses from Town Square Media, South Jersey.
Hey you, I knew I'd find you back in the same aisle. What are you looking for today? More fiber, more laxatives, more of the same ways to manage your constipation? Look, if your constipation with belly pain keeps coming back, you may have irritable bowel syndrome with constipation, or IBS-C. Ask your doctor how Linzess can help you get ahead of it.
Linzess linaclotide is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually. Do not give Linzess to children less than 2.